In January 2020, on a day of relentless rain in Nisayama, a young man named Yoshiki was desperately searching for his friend Hikaru in the forest. Despite only having the meager light of a flashlight, he showed no signs of wavering. Though everyone tried to stop him, he couldn't abandon Hikaru and continued his search through the downpour. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Hikaru was in critical condition, despairing and caring for nothing but someone to save him. It seemed as if something was slowly taking over his body. Days turned into weeks, and Yoshiki couldn't find Hikaru. Then, on a scorching summer day, with cicadas buzzing loudly and the bright sun illuminating the peaceful village road, Yoshiki and Hikaru were leisurely enjoying some ice cream. Yoshiki was annoyed that their teacher, Mr. Hara, had made them run in the scorching heat. Hikaru couldn't understand why the old man kept tormenting them like that. They sat down on a worn wooden bench in front of the store. Hikaru slowly savored his ice cream, while Yoshiki's eyes began to fill with worry as he looked at his friend. "Hey, Hikaru," Yoshiki began. "Did you really go missing for a week on that mountain? And you haven't remembered anything for half a year?" Hikaru just shook his head, a silent void hanging between them. Yoshiki continued, his voice full of concern. "Do you know how worried everyone was about you?" Hikaru then teased Yoshiki, asking if he felt lonely without him. Yoshiki retorted, "No way, you idiot." The atmosphere grew heavy. Yoshiki decided to ask Hikaru something he considered a bit strange. "Since you went missing and came back, I've always thought about this. You're not the same Hikaru as before, are you?" The space seemed to freeze. Yoshiki must have found it incredibly difficult to voice those words. His words struck Hikaru like a shock. His face contorted with surprise and confusion, wondering how Yoshiki knew, even though the thing had tried to imitate Hikaru perfectly. In that moment, a horrifying sight unfolded. A part of Hikaru's face began to contort. Dark, rusty patches oozing out like liquid. Distorted and terrifying, Hikaru hugged Yoshiki tightly, his voice trembling as he pleaded, "Please, don't tell anyone. This is the first time he's lived like a human, gone to school, and eaten ice cream. Even though this body isn't Hikaru's anymore, he also likes Yoshiki, so he doesn't want to kill you." Tears streamed down Yoshiki's face as he realized his true friend Hikaru was truly gone. Despite his heart aching, he thought, if that's the case, having an imposter by my side isn't so bad after all. And Yoshiki decided to agree to keep it a secret. After that day, Yoshiki continuously dreamed about the old Hikaru. In his dream, Yoshiki asked Hikaru about his plans after graduation. Hikaru replied indifferently that he hadn't thought much about it. Perhaps he would inherit his grandfather's shiitake mushroom farm. Hikaru also teased Yoshiki, saying that since he was good at studying, he should leave this village and go to university in Tokyo. Hikaru then teased Yoshiki again, asking if he wasn't going to Tokyo because he'd miss him. To which Yoshiki replied, "No way, you dork." Startled, he woke up, realizing it was just a dream. But the loss he felt was real. Recalling that face, Yoshiki was still shaken. He burst into tears, mourning as he confirmed Hikaru was no more. Despite his sadness, he still had to eat and go to school. At that moment, the fake Hikaru arrived at Yoshiki's house to walk to school together. Yoshiki quickly told Hikaru to hurry up, or their homeroom teacher would make them run again. On the way to school, Yoshiki still thought to himself, no matter what Hikaru is, having him here is still much better. Classes at school continued as usual. They had a singing class, but Hikaru seemed unaccustomed to singing. Meanwhile, somewhere, a man appeared to be causing chaos at someone's house, trying to find something but without success. He called his company to report, wondering why they had been so stubbornly searching for that thing for hundreds of years. Meanwhile, Hikaru and his friends met some girls and were invited to watch a documentary during their elective class. The movie was so boring everyone fell asleep, but Hikaru had seen it 5 times and still cried hysterically. The school day quickly ended, and the two friends prepared to leave. That afternoon, under the sunlight, the chirping of insects mingled with the sound of flowing water. While their friends participated in music club and sports, the two boys rode their bikes to escape, wandering wherever they felt like it. Afterward, they stopped at a convenience store selling ready-to-eat food. Hikaru eagerly ate a fried minced meat cutlet, saying it was a dish they used to eat. He felt it was indescribably delicious, even though it was a familiar taste in his memories. Yoshiki commented that it was strange that Hikaru had memories but no real feelings, as if he had never truly lived. Hikaru wondered if he was a ghost or a monster. Suddenly, a large white cat darted out, frightened when it saw Hikaru preparing to pet it. Yoshiki asked Hikaru if he wanted to go somewhere else. Hikaru remarked that Yoshiki was still as kind as ever. Yoshiki retorted that it wasn't kindness, but self-indulgence, but Hikaru still insisted that Yoshiki was very kind. even to someone who wasn't truly human like him. Later, Yoshiki and Hikaru stopped their bikes beside a dirt road. Hikaru pointed to a dragonfly and asked Yoshiki about it. Yoshiki explained the difference between summer red dragonflies and autumn red dragonflies, even though they looked very similar. But Hikaru didn't understand, so Yoshiki got lazy and didn't bother explaining further. Hikaru asked Yoshiki if he could come over to finish reading some comic books. Yoshiki hesitated but agreed. As the two rode happily towards Yoshiki's house, they encountered an old madwoman. She looked at them, then convulsed and screamed, "Has Lord Nanuki come down from the mountain?" While Yoshiki was bewildered, Hikaru lightly stomped his foot, his eyes filled with murderous intent, which scared the woman so much she fled into her house. The two continued on their way home. Yoshiki wondered if the real Hikaru was truly dead. The fake Hikaru replied that he was indeed dead, but it wasn't his doing. Hikaru was already dying when he accidentally found him, and things had turned out as they were. As they parted ways, Yoshiki, with a more serious expression than ever, asked Hikaru directly, "Do you like me?" Hikaru's answer was yes. Very much. Yoshiki expected to be happy, but he wasn't. Tears welled up because the real Hikaru had never said such a thing before. Yoshiki went into his house and told Hikaru never to leave him alone again. However, Yoshiki then began to torment himself, refusing to go outside, even for school. At the same time, in the old madwoman's house, something was approaching, terrifying her. Mitsura was in a messy, dilapidated room. A voice from outside called, saying there was a package. Mitsura desperately cried out, "Don't open it, don't come, no one comes here in the middle of the night." However, the voice outside persisted, urging Mitsura to accept the delivery. And finally, losing patience, he burst in. Mitsura's eyes widened in ultimate fear as she realized she couldn't stop what was entering. And so, the old woman died. The police quickly arrived at the scene, but the incident terrified everyone, making them wonder when it would be their turn. The thug from earlier that day was also dispatched to the village, though he didn't want to go to such a gloomy place at all. He believed the villagers didn't know what they were truly facing. It was more complicated than they thought. Wow, the graphics in this movie are amazing. Guys, it sends shivers down your spine. A few days after the incident with Mrs. Mitsura, Yoshiki finally emerges from his house. Looking deeply troubled, he pedals his bike furiously, speeding through the village streets and leaving Hikaru struggling to keep up. Suddenly, Yoshiki slams on his brakes with a screech. Police cars are swarming the village. Having been cooped up inside for days, Yoshiki is completely out of the loop. Hikaru tells him he heard some ghost lady had died, which makes Yoshiki realize he must be talking about Mrs. Mitsura. Hikaru remembers the name then, but the look Yoshiki gives his friend is incredibly complicated. You can't help but wonder if Yoshiki has started to figure something out. Meanwhile, a mysterious man arrives, heading straight for Kubatachi village to begin his own investigation. At school, the students are in an uproar over Mrs. Mitsura's bizarre death. The rumor going around from the adults is that she literally shoved her own fist down her throat and choked to death. Some students are terrified, while a few of the more superstitious ones wonder if she was cursed after seeing something she wasn't supposed to. These hushed, paranoid whispers make Yoshiki glance over at Hikaru. Is he starting to suspect him? After all, Yoshiki doesn't even know what Hikaru is anymore. Plus, he can't forget how furious Hikaru was that day they met Mrs. Mitsura, scaring her so badly that she ran away. Then, one of their classmates, looking pale, says he's worried he might be cursed too. He explains that he normally takes the road on the east side of the mountain to get home to Ishidori. But with the tunnel under construction, he's been forced to cut through a nearby forest. And it's creepy as hell. The girls in their group tease him, saying he's just a scaredy cat who's afraid of the dark. No way, he insists. He tells them that every time he enters that forest, his vision goes black, and when he tries to look up, his entire body freezes in place. He begs Yoshiki to walk him home after school. Damn it, why drag me into this? Yoshiki thinks, annoyed, who's gonna walk with me on my way back? Being the practical one, Yoshiki refuses. But Hikaru is a different story. He isn't afraid of anything. He volunteers to escort the kid home, an offer that shocks their friends. The old Hikaru was the biggest coward they knew. He once passed out for 2 hours just from watching a horror movie. What's with this sudden bravery? Reluctantly, the whole group agrees to walk the problem child home. Meanwhile, the mysterious investigator reaches Mrs. Mitsura's house. Undeterred by the oppressive, gloomy atmosphere, he breaks down the door. He finds a man named Takeda and asks how his father is. Takeda tells him that ever since Mrs. Mitsura died, his father has been convinced he's next and is now hiding in the house. Too terrified to come out, Takeda grabs the investigator, blaming his company for the fact that villagers are dying off. The man calmly retorts that his company actually saved the village from a real estate conglomerate that would have leveled the entire area. He then mentions the other strange occurrences. The Indo family's son has vanished, suggesting their family ritual failed, allowing something to start wreaking havoc. That afternoon, the group of friends guides their classmate through the eerie forest. Despite its menacing reputation, they pass through without a single incident. "See? You're just a wuss. There was nothing there," his friends tease. The boy just laughs sheepishly and thanks them for their help. Back at the Matsura house, the investigator learns that as a young woman, Mrs. Matsura had a terrifying experience on the mountain that haunted her for the rest of her life. It led her to obsessively collect information about a local deity called the Nanuki god. The investigator suspects that whatever she saw back then is what ultimately caused her death. The villagers add another chilling detail. Her daughter also vanished without a trace years ago. The investigator theorizes that while she feared the entity on the mountain, her intense fear is precisely what attracted it to her. On their way back, after dropping off their friend, Yoshiki and the others cut through the forest again. Just when it seems like they're in the clear, Yoshiki sees a horrifying, ghost-like figure that freezes him in his tracks. "You see it too, don't you?" Yoshiki asks Hikaru, his voice trembling. Hikaru sees it, but all he says is, "It's latched onto you." Yoshiki, making no move to protect him as the creature hurtles toward them. Suddenly, Hikaru's eyes flash with a strange light. He seems to deliberately draw the creature's attention. A moment later, blood sprays from his mouth. At the same time, the investigation team has relocated to the Mikasa family shrine. The investigator explains to the bewildered locals that they need a safer place, and he's set up a protective barrier around the shrine. While sipping some tea, he reveals that on his way into the village, he found a bag on the mountain, the same one Kohei always used, which his son Hikaru had taken with him months ago. Inside was something disturbing, what he is certain was once a human head. However, he explains, this gruesome object is surprisingly useful. Carrying it works as a ward against most malevolent spirits. He initially thought this small totem had cleansed the entire mountain, but Mrs. Matsura's death proves that theory wrong. He concludes the entity from the mountain must have descended into the village and is now hiding, which is why he can no longer sense its presence up there. Back in the forest, the two girls have bolted in terror. Hikaru, though bleeding, is recovering. "What did you just do?" Yoshiki demands. "It wanted to possess you." Hikaru explains calmly. "So I crushed it and ate it. It put up a fight. That's why I got hurt." He then warns Yoshiki, "Never look at those things. If you make eye contact, they'll latch onto you. I'm the only exception. They're just incredibly lonely." Later, they emerge from the woods and meet up with the girls, who are worried after hearing a loud noise. Hikaru brushes it off as a hunter, but one of the girls gets a strange feeling. She realizes the forest's suffocating, evil aura is completely gone. It's as if two evils just cancelled each other out. "You're sure you're okay?" Yoshiki asks Hikaru again, genuinely concerned. Hikaru misinterprets his worry, a possessive thought crossing his mind. "I don't need to take you anywhere. Yoshiki, you're going to stay here with me forever." The story flashes back to a memory. Hikaru's father telling him that if he ever likes someone, he must marry them immediately. "Why?" Hikaru had asked. His father explained, "If you don't, the Inuki god will take them. Our family, the Indas, have a pact. The god won't touch family members. So marriage offers protection. But anyone who gets close to us without joining the family, they die." Later, in a storage shed, Hikaru takes off his shirt, ready to show Yoshiki what he has become. He reveals a large, deep gash running down his torso. "Go on," Hikaru says. "Put your hand inside." Hesitantly, Yoshiki does. The inside of Hikaru's body is freezing, feeling bizarrely like cold, marinated chicken. To Hikaru, however, Yoshiki's hand feels wonderfully warm. He urges Yoshiki to go deeper. And as he does, Hikaru's body looks as if it's about to split apart. Yoshiki feels a terrifying pulling sensation, like he's being sucked in, and yanks his hand back in fear. It turns out Hikaru was just messing with him. He was scared too, but through these bizarre experiences, the two seem to be forming a strange, new understanding. Sometime later, Yoshiki is at the convenience store when an old woman watches him intently. The cashier asks how his sister is doing, having heard she's been too sick to go to school. She also mentions hearing his parents fighting late at night and tells him that people are worried. If anything is wrong, she says kindly, "You can always talk to us." As Yoshiki leaves, the memory of the chilling cold inside Hikaru's body sends a shiver down his spine. The old woman from the store suddenly grabs his arm. "You need to get away from that thing," she whispers urgently. "It's dangerous. If you stay near it, you'll be mixed together. You won't be human anymore." Yoshiki is stunned. The woman explains that for years she's felt a terrifying aura coming from the forbidden part of the mountain. But recently, That aura completely vanished. Her words click into place for Yoshiki. She's talking about the mountain where Hikaru disappeared. She doesn't know where the entity went, but she has a strong hunch that it's now following Yoshiki. What do you know? He asks. Startled, she admits she doesn't have all the answers but felt she had to warn him. She gives him her phone number. Call me when you're ready to listen. That night, Yoshiki is home, his mind a battlefield of conflicting emotions. The unnatural cold of Hikaru's body. The string of gruesome events in the village. It all points to one conclusion. The thing pretending to be Hikaru is the killer. But he made a promise to that thing. A promise that he would never tell a soul.